Hey everybody, welcome to this live stream. My name is Dave Bodie, and in this stream, I want to share with you some new toys that I have, some new guitar toys. With me helping out over here, just off camera, is my daughter Ella. She's going to be switching and taking care of chat. So if you have any questions about guitar effects, pedals, or really life in general, put them in the chat and we'll get to it. So, we're talking about guitar effects today, or I am. And with me on the bench, you can see right here in the overhead cam, I have two new effects. I'm also playing a new guitar, which is somewhat exciting, but more about that in maybe a different video. Over here, I have a multi-effects pedal by a company called Headrush. This is the MX5. It's pretty new. It's maybe a month and a half old. I've had it for about a month. And over here is a pedal that's been out for a couple of years. This is from Origin Effects. It's the Cali76 Stacked Edition. And I'm going to talk about both of these because I think this setup right here is a killer setup for just about everything. You can hear in the demo, in fact, you can actually still hear it, I think. Let me see. Oh yeah, it's still going. The first patch that I demoed there is a super ambient thing, and if you look at the screen here, you can actually see I have parallel routing with the effects here, and I'm just going to switch patches because this will literally go on forever, that background drone there. And so this pedal is really, really cool. It does everything that multi-effects pedals are supposed to do. It was kind of designed to basically replace your pedal board for traditional type of guitarist. The interface is set up very similar to how you would set up a pedal board with all of your overdrives, your delays, your reverbs. But this also does amplifier and cabinet modeling, as well as handle all kinds of IRs for maybe higher quality cabinet and microphone sounds, as well as using IRs for things like acoustic guitar, because you can use this with acoustic guitar or bass. And you can do something like take an acoustic guitar and use an IR, which stands for impulse response. And you can take your piezo pickup, which generally sounds kind of squawky and a little bit harsh, and make that sound like a mic'd up acoustic guitar. Maybe not 100%, but it's like 80% there. It sounds a heck of a lot better than a plugged in just DI guitar. It is really pretty amazing. And for amp models, especially higher gain amp models, things with the real shred tones, IRs can sound really, really great. But this does have regular kind of cabinet and mic modeling. So let's talk a little bit about the pedal, the kind of features. I don't have them all memorized, but this has amps in it. It's got 46 plus amplifiers. You don't really need more than that. There are pedals that have more amps than that, and there are some that have less. This has more than you'll ever need. It's also got, I think, maybe 15 or 16 different cabinet models that you can load up in here as well. Do you hear a drone? Is someone Okay, someone's, I thought that was the drone coming from my pedal because it's an F sharp, which is like really weird. Can you hear the note? It's, yeah, I just jumped into a different space-time continuum there for a second. So this has 11 effects blocks. So you can load something in every one of these blocks, or just a few. You can use up, as many or as few as you need. And you can run things like dual amplifiers. You can run stereo amplifiers, stereo cabinets. You can run dual impulse responses, which is really cool. I'm going to show you one of those rigs that I created as well. What I'm not going to do in this video is I'm not going to show you presets that came from the factory. There's 50 videos if you want to see factory presets. The factory presets are pretty good, the best that I've seen in a pedal. But in my experience, unless you're going to play the songs that those are based on, what good are they really? So what I'm going to show you is how to create a tone from scratch. And I'm also going to, from time to time, use this Cali76 model because so far what I have found with this Headrush MX5 is it does just about everything that it claims to do fantastically. It's got excellent amp models, excellent cab models. The IR loading is excellent. You can load many, many hundred. I accidentally put 700 on, even though it said that the maximum was like 300 or something like that, but it worked just fine. It does all kinds of delays. It does fantastic reverbs, all your modulations. It's got just about everything. Whammy, wah, expression control, and a ton of functionality. It does have compression, and that's the one area where I felt like this pedal was just a little lacking. It's only got, well, it has 3 compressor models that you can pull up, and one of them is a side chain, which works with the effects loop. So there's really only 2 for kind of standard normal playing. And it really just, they weren't working super well for me. They do work fine. And I think for most guitar players, they'd be absolutely perfect. But I was looking for something really special. And that's why I bought this Origin Effects Cali76, which is probably one of the best pedal compressors you can get. This is based off the Universal Audio 1176 Studio Compressor. And it's actually got 2 compression circuits in it, as well as a dry blend knob. So you can do parallel compression. You can mix in the uncompressed sound with a compressed sound, either a super heavily compressed sound or just a sound that has just a little compression for a much fatter sort of effect, and do anything in between. And I may jump into that more later, but let's check out how to set something up with this pedal from scratch. Because I think for a lot of guitar players, in my experience, guitar players that I have met are not super technical. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why multi-effects pedals haven't caught on, certainly as much as like traditional sort of setups with amplifiers. I mean, if you look at the best-selling guitars of all time, they're like the Fender Stratocaster, the Fender Telecaster, the Gibson Les Paul. These are guitars that were designed in the 50s and 60s. Have we not come farther in technology than that? Well, we have, but, guitar players, they like what they know, and they like the old-timey stuff. And so I think that for some guitar players out there, something like this may be intimidating. But this is by far the easiest multi-effects pedal that I have ever used. And I want to show you that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a new rig. You can see it loads up a blank palette here. And the first thing that I want to do is add an amplifier. And here's the list of amplifiers. By the way, this has a touch screen, which is really fantastic. This particular model here, the Headrush MX5, was $400 US. And they have 2 bigger versions of it. There's a gig board, which has 4 buttons, 4 foot switches, and no expression pedal, but it does have a 7-inch OLED screen. This has got a 4-inch screen. It's not an OLED screen. It's like a regular TFT or VA panel screen. I don't know. It's perfectly fine. But at times, the 4-inch size can get a little bit cramped when you're typing in things. But there is a data entry wheel over here to make fine-tune adjustments. So it's really not a problem. This is very, very fast to select something and then just fine-tune the values for whatever it is you're dialing in. So let's do something really simple, something that a traditional guitar player that you might see For me, that would be mostly in churches. But, you know, playing gigs would see. We want like a basic amplifier, something with a good clean tone and maybe some overdrive pedals, maybe a delay and a reverb, something like that. So I'm going to dial in classic amplifier here. This is I believe this is a Fender Twin. Ella's going to pull up on the monitor there a list of all the amplifier models, and we can just verify. So if you go to the second page there, you should see one called Black Duo. Yeah, that's Fender Twin Reverb Blackface. Okay, that's good. You can jump back. So this is a really standard amplifier. Let's check out what it sounds like. It sounds like just a pretty basic amplifier. Nothing too special. It's a little thin sounding, so I'd probably boost up the volume and just get a little more grit on it. You can hear it's just starting to break up there, and I'm on my neck humbucker here. It's a little bit bassy, so I might jump into the cabinet. By default, these load with the matching cabinets to most of the amplifiers, but you can change that so that it loads with a different default, and you can change all kinds of presets. But let me change the microphone on this. Maybe a 57. It's okay. I'm going to boost the volume here just a little bit. I think that's pretty good. I'd probably go with a 57 for this one, and then I'm going to turn the gain down. Whoops, let me go back to the amplifier. Just double tap that. I'm just going to turn the volume down just a hair. So this is what it sounds like with the neck single coil. It's great. It's not super inspiring though. I think for every patch or rig, as Headrush calls it, you need a reverb. So I'm going to throw a reverb on the end here, and they have all kinds of reverbs with this. But it's very unnatural to hear an amplifier without reverb, because you don't listen to an amplifier in the real world with your speaker 2 inches from, or with your ear 2 inches from the speaker rather. So all of these setups, they need a little reverb. So I'm going to pull up the 11 reverb and just do a simple small room, and then we'll dive in here and just adjust. Maybe turn down the tone a little, turn down the mix a little, turn up the decay a little. That sounds a little bit better. And then what just about every guitar rig needs is a distortion pedal or a boost pedal, and I'm going to pick a classic, the Ibanez Tube Screamer, and just pick a preset called Smooth. And usually what I like to do is turn the drive down low and turn the level up, so I get something like that. And I think already this is sounding pretty good. What do you think, Ella? Yeah, she's giving me the thumbs up there. Now I'm listening with headphones. Normally when I dial in my guitar sound, I use calibrated studio monitors in my office, which has a bunch of acoustic treatment, so it's a little more accurate. So I'm not 100% sure what it's sounding like in the Sennheiser headphones here, but it's sounding good so far. Cool. So a lot of times what I like to add too for a little bit more sustain is a compression pedal. And instead of doing one in here, which is super easy, you just go down to Dynamics and pull up something like the Gray Comp. Maybe adjust the level and the sustain a little. That's a little aggressive, but it'll work better with single coils. There we go. But instead of doing that, look how easy it is to get rid of that. Boom, it's gone. I'll use my Cali76 because this is a crazy good compressor. This is not doing any boost in level. It's just basically compressing it at the same level. Well, the signal going out is roughly the same signal as it's uncompressed. It's just fatter and thicker. Actually, that might be a little bit louder. I was messing with it earlier. What I like to set up the compressor to do is to have the transients be the same. So when I really get on it, that should be about as loud as without the compressor. But it does sound louder because what the compressor is doing is suppressing the transients and then pushing up the lower voltage, if you will. So as the sound decays, if I kick this off, you'll hear the level drop, but it doesn't necessarily mean the peaks are louder. The whole thing is louder because it's pushing up the lower level stuff and suppressing the upper level stuff. Cool. So, you know, if you are a type of guitar player who works with pedals, creating something that sounds great with this is super simple. Even if you don't have a Cali76, it's super simple. This, you know, these stock compressors are fine, standard issue. Yeah, that's more reasonable in terms of the preset value there. But I like this Cali76 better, so I'm going to use that. And normally I only kick on the Cali for single coil stuff because single coil, depending on the style that I'm playing, can sound just a little bit too transient unless it's a high gain sound, which compresses the heck out of everything. But if it's something cleaner, I'll kick off the tube screamer here. It doesn't do it for me. So a little bit of compression, especially when I play some lead lines, which is mostly what I do. Without the compressor, it just sort of sounds sad. I mean, that's okay. It's just not nearly as nice. So, basic tone, super, super simple. So, you know, if this sort of thing is intimidating, it really shouldn't be because you can create tones really, really easy. Now, how about something with a little bit higher gain? Well, that's super easy to do. All of these elements here can be reordered as easy as you just saw me do there. You just click or you tap and you kind of drag around here and you can reorder things super, super easy. So if you want to put, let's say, another overdrive on here, no problem. Let's grab something a little bit more aggressive like this model right here, which I believe is a full tone OCD or something like that. And it's definitely more aggressive. In fact, I'm just going to pull down the levels a little bit. Yeah, that's clipping just a hair. Let me just turn my level down. There we go. That's all right. Turn the level down, we'll turn the driveway up. Sorry. Ella said it scared her. If you don't like that, there's a bunch of other ones in here, including a Klon model. Klon somehow became like a very sought after pedal. The original Klons go for many thousands of dollars, even though there are identical circuits that you can get for like less than $100. But let's pull up a Klon drive. Level down, drive up a little bit. Now, to me, that sounds a little bit harsh with these headphones, so I may go into the amplifier and just maybe turn down the treble just a little bit, give it a little more juice in the trunk department. I mean, this one's okay. Usually for higher gain stuff, I do a different kind of setup, but this is okay. In fact, let's just roll. I'll save this as something. How about clean? Boom. There we go. Oh, I already have something named clean, so I'll call it clean G. That's cool. Let's create something brand new that is more high gain. This should be pretty easy. And let's pick a, where is the, I found a really good one I liked the other day. Oh, here we go. This should work. Yeah, that'll do it. And instead of the cabinet, what I'll do is I'll drop that right down here. And I would not play anything without the cabinet because it sounds like you plug in a speaker cable directly into your brain. It's very bad. But instead, we'll use an IR. and I'll just pick a preset that I made. This is a custom one that I downloaded onto the pedal. So I think that sounds pretty decent. Controls for the amplifier are very similar to what you'd find on the actual amplifier, which means that they do change from amp to amp. For example, if we go up here and pick something really simple, like this guy right here, or maybe it's not that one. I can't remember. One of these only had like 2 controls. Yeah, this one right here. It's like instrument volume, mic volume, and tone. So some of them are labeled maybe less intuitively than you'd think, but it's more similar to how they are on the actual amplifiers, which is totally fine. Let's go and discard my changes. And can I go back one more time? I guess I can. No worries though. We'll just dial up that. What was that? It was the, this is based on a Marshall JCM 800 with some kind of mod to it to make it more gainy. So we can really dial up the amount of distortion. So how about some of the other effects? Let's check out some of the more delicious reverbs, yeah? So there's a bunch of different types of reverbs that this has. We have the 11 verb, and if we go into the settings, you can see this has a bunch of different types. These are probably different algorithms or models of reverbs. Everything from what you heard earlier, which is a small room, to things like extra long. And if we dial this up, this is going to be pretty long. And this has kind of a cool feature, which you find a lot on newer pedals, is what Headrush calls tails. So if you want to turn on and off effects, things that are time-based, like reverbs and delays, whoops, I left my volume on there. Well, like this, for example, if I turn that off, you can see the 11 reverb just shut off. The tail of the reverb will keep going. In fact, you can also turn on the tails for patches. So if you are playing and you have one rig created that has a nice luscious reverb tail, and then you switch to your next rig for the next song or whatever, the reverb, the delays, whatever's going when you switch can keep going, or you can set it to stop, which is pretty cool. And you can do the same with individual effects. So for instance, you can play something with this, maybe do a swell, and then turn it off. And play over top of it. And this brings me to my next point. One of the reasons that I really like this pedal is, unlike a lot of the other multi-effects pedals on the market, you can run multiple instances of one certain type of effect. So some other pedals let you run multiple instances of like distortion pedals. This, you can run multiple instances of reverbs and pretty much anything until you run out of DSP or processing power. In fact, I have some rigs that I've created that have 4 reverbs, and you may be thinking 4 reverbs, that's a little much, and I would agree. But there are some sounds that you just can't get with a single reverb. Maybe you need like a very short reverb, so I might use the 11 reverb again, but this time do like a small room or maybe a medium room or something like that. See what this sounds like. I'm just going to pull down the gain here and pull up the master volume. So that's a little bit. And then to that, you can add just a little bit more. Or you can have 2 super wet reverbs if you want. Or different types of reverbs. This has shimmer. This has another one called air reverb, which is really, really nice. You can see there, it didn't let me select another, well, I guess it's, the 11 reverb is already selected, so it won't let me select that again because it's already selected. But this particular ambient or air reverb has a bunch of different models or types of reverbs that all sound a little bit different. But you can see when I scrub up the time, you can make it really, really long. In fact, I think just before it says infinite, it's 144 seconds. So it's really, really, really long. Let's see. Now you won't hear it for 144 seconds. Well, maybe you will, but it slowly starts to decay over time. But these can be really, really cool to create all kinds of ambient, lush textures. So for example, let me just discard this and I'm going to go to another one. I'll go back to that other one that I just created, clean something rather. Oh, here's one, stereo Ripa. So before when I mentioned you can do stereo amps or dual amps, this is a rig that I created using 2 amps and 2 IRs, some reverbs on the end and some overdrives or boost pedals at the top. And this is what it sounds like. Any comments? Oh, cool. Yeah, that's all right. If you do have any comments or questions, put them in the chat. I'll try to get to them before the stream ends, or before my voice gives out for just nerding out on guitar stuff. All right, pretty cool. So one thing that you may have noticed is the pedal is pretty small. Oh, you know what I was talking about before? The different reverb. So yeah, you can load up all kinds of stuff here. We can do like a shimmer reverb over here. That sounds really cool. This sounds really cool when you layer this with another reverb. I like to put the air reverb along with this. Oops. Let me turn that back on. Oh, my mix is set to 75%. That's why. And what's up with this? Oh, there we go. Or actually, I like to reorder these and put the shimmer first. I think that sounds pretty nice. So, let me discard that. Whoops, we'll go back one more. Another thing you may have noticed is that this board is pretty small and there are only 3 buttons. And when I created this patch from scratch, it put the amplifier here and the cab here, which are definitely not things that you want to turn off or turn on. And the cool thing about the hardware of this pedal is it's super, super customizable. So if I jump into the hardware settings here, right now, these are set to toggle things on and off. But let's say I want to toggle my tube screamer on and off. No problem. That's super easy to do. if I want to get rid of this cab here and have that maybe be another thing that I have pulled up like the K drive, I can also toggle that on and off as well. And the cool thing is, for some rigs, having 3 buttons to toggle is not going to do it. And you also might be wondering, how do you change patches if there are only 3 buttons, or rigs as Headrush calls them? If there are only 3 buttons and you have them assigned to toggle things on and off, how do you change to the next rig? Well, you can press 2 buttons at the same time, and that'll go to another rig, which is really, really cool. But actually, if you press and hold these buttons, they also have an alternate function as well. So there are multiple different modes you can put these hardware buttons in. Currently, it's in stomp mode, but you can put it in rig mode. In rig mode, loads up 3 different rigs. And so you can quickly go from each of those, and they're labeled right down here. And then if you press these 2 together, it goes to the next 3. So I can go to this one, that one, and so on. And there's also something called hybrid mode. Hybrid mode lets you have 1 button to toggle something on and off, and then these buttons right here are next rig and previous rig. But I think for most folks, stomp mode, which is what I had it in before, will work really, really well, because in this mode, you can still change patches just by pressing both switches at the same time, but then you have access to turn multiple things on and off. And speaking of turning multiple things on and off, this has something called scenes as well. So right now, all of these buttons you can see right here, they're all set to toggle. I know the screen's pretty small there, but these are set to toggle. But if you, what's up? Okay, thank you. If you click on the toggle button on the bottom, you can see they switch to scene. And when you have the buttons set to a scene, what you can do is turn multiple things on or off, or change presets at the same time. So let's say in this scene, I wanted to turn on this, my gray comp and my tube drive and my EQ, no problem. And then in this scene right here, I want to turn those off. Now, I did read that in an upcoming firmware update, they are going to change the scene operation. Instead of needing 2 scenes to turn a group of things on and off, you should be able to do it with 1 scene. But for the moment, this is how it works. I can turn all of those on with this 1 pedal and all of those off with this 1 pedal, which is pretty cool. And in fact, you could do a 3rd scene over here as well to turn something on. So for one of these patches, and I'm just going to discard my changes. It's not the one called butts, but those are all just really quick patches that I was making when I was experimenting. But I used this, this one a couple weeks ago. So I believe all of these buttons are scenes. So this one's called intro. And then if I hit this one right here, it turns off my overdrive and turns on my delay, which is really cool. And then I turn this one on and it turns on my overdrive and on my shimmer, but leaves everything else. And you can see as I'm switching those, because I have these effects set to the tails being on, if I hit this scene that I named Shimmer and I play a note, turn my volume down, or actually I'll just play it and hold it and switch scenes. That shimmer keeps going as well as the delay. I think I have the tails on the delay. Let me see. Yeah, I do. It just wasn't very much. So that is a very handy feature. You can definitely hear that in this one that I named Ambient, which I forgot to put an N in, but that's okay. If I just play a little bit. in switch patches, all of that beautiful nonsense that I just created keeps going, which I think is really, really fantastic. So yeah, that's kind of the basics of the pedal. Final call for any questions in the chat. Is anyone watching? It's okay. You know, we'll just post this for future reference because I'm sure someone's going to want to know. The what? Oh, did I bump this? There we go. Cool. I think I covered most everything. This you can load set lists. So, for example, I'm in a wedding band, and these are my wedding band songs. Super easy. There's not a PC editor for creating patches like there are on the Helix and many, many other multi-effects pedals. But so that's a minor annoyance because to set things up, you have to touch the pedal. And so I have a special stand that I made so I don't have to bend down and do it like a caveman. But that means that they designed the pedal to be extremely easy to use. Going in here and editing your set list is super easy to reorder things or to add things. I mean, you can see it works essentially if you've ever used a smartphone, especially like an iPhone, in the same way that the iPhone is very intuitive. You know, when you long press something, it selects it and you can click and drag or just sliding to make adjustments. It's all extremely intuitive. I barely even looked at the manual to do anything. It was mostly to do some real nerd stuff and checking like what MIDI values were and things of that nature. But I made a bunch, 26 presets for the band that I play guitar and keyboard and bass. And so I use this for all of my guitar and bass tones. There's only one that I use for bass, but I made those all without looking at the manual at all. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty good. So you can load hundreds and hundreds of presets. You can have the same presets in multiple set lists. Super easy to reorder them, or just change tones or change set lists. So here's one that I used Sunday, and I think I also put all of those crazy other wacky presets because after I played that Sunday, I kept experimenting and making some other really cool sounds. So like I said before, let me show you a little bit about the IR. So this is another, I think this is another high gain sound that I did. Yeah. So I'll show you the difference between the IR, which is on right now, and the cabinet. It sounds different, in some ways better. Maybe somebody would like that a little bit differently. But the nice thing about the IRs is they offer more tweakability and customization because you can get many, many, many different IRs with all kinds of different cabinets and models. And there is a bit of a limitation to the cabinets on here. There's only just so many cabinets and just so many microphones. There's no high cut or low cut with the way they have the cabinet models implemented, which is okay because you can load in another slot a parametric EQ, and there's also, if you go to global settings, there is some EQ here, including a high and a low shelf and like a couple of parametric bands as well. But the way that I use this, I don't like to use the global EQ because that doesn't change when you change patches, like basically the EQ for the entire pedal. And because I use this for bass, I don't want to put a high pass filter on to cut some of the low stuff out, because then when I play bass and I have a 4-string that's tuned to B, E, A, D, that's not really going to work for me. So for some of those, I use the IRs because when you jump into the IRs, you can put a low cut on, which is very handy for guitar because guitar does not need anything that low. I think the lowest string, the E string, is like maybe somewhere around 82 hertz or something like that, 84 hertz. Something like that. Anyway, so you don't really need a whole lot of low end. Anyone who's mixing at front of house is going to just put a high pass filter on it anyway. And some of these are pretty low. They do have like a good amount of low content in it. So I usually put a little bit of low cut on there, and I also filter out some of the high end stuff on some of the IRs. But you can see it's very easy to switch between them. So this is a huge folder of IRs, which are all, I don't even know what the cabinet is, but it's recorded with a 57, and there's probably, I don't know, 30 or 40 different versions with various distances from the cone, different positions, and I think that's pretty much it. Oh, the other one is presence. So on the amplifier that they recorded it with, they changed the presence on the amplifier just to give it, a little bit more high frequency stuff. But there's a bunch of other IRs. I'll show you some of the ones that it comes with, which I think are okay. The ones that I found, I like a little bit better. Yeah, these are all really, really loud. Let me dial that down a little bit. It's okay. You can see even this one model, which is a 60s 412. There's a bunch of different versions. So this is called balanced. This is called bright. This is called room. So a little bit of ambience in there. And then different mics. So this one has 414 and 57 and 87. And a lot of different options. And for high gain stuff, I think these sound really, really fantastic. I have a couple of Celestians in here that came from Celestion themselves. They sound pretty good. I also have some acoustic stuff in here that I was experimenting with. This is from Guitar Hacks. I believe it's guitarhacks.com. And I think this is a stereo IR. Oh yeah, it's stereo. And then here's another IR. You can see you can load multiple IRs at the same time. And it's super easy to create a stereo rig out of this as well. So just for example, this will be the last thing that I do. I'll show you how easy it is to take this. Right now, this is a serial rig, so everything's running in. But you can see I have 2 amplifiers and 2 IRs. But let me get rid of my cabinet here. And then I'm going to click this button here, and that's going to change the mode or the routing mode from serial to parallel. And all I have to do is rearrange these amplifiers here and turn this one on. Turn this one on, and then go into mix, and I'm just going to hard pan these, and then adjust my IR levels. I think it's this one. And just like that, you can create a really nice stereo rig that you can run a bunch of different ways. It doesn't have to be hard panned. You can just kind of blend them together. You can do basically the same thing. I'm going to discard my changes in some of the other rigs, even some of the more simple ones that I've created. I'll show you really quickly. Like this one, for example, I called this Demogorgon. And basically what I did is when you click on the amplifier, by default, if I just load up one of each of these, there we go. My fat finger wasn't making contact with the screen there. There is a 2x button. So this was my original sound for this setup. Oh, where's my boost there? There we go. Pretty nice. And to create a stereo rig, I don't even have to do like a parallel thing. All I need to do is click on the amplifier and click 2x, and that will throw another amplifier and another cabinet in here. And these are in stereo, although I think they're hard panned. I don't know. I'm going to have to do some more testing. That's what it sounds like. And then you can go in and tweak the amplifiers to your heart's content, or the cabinets. Maybe throw in a 412 25 watt. That's nice. That's pretty much it. Any questions in the chat? Final call. It's all right. If you do post questions in the comments, I'll see what I can do to get around to answer those for you. But this is a really great setup. Super, super flexible. I don't think, with the exception of super high-end reverbs and delays, things like the microcosm and other delay pedals that are in the, well, north of probably $300 or $400 per pedal, delay pedals that have like diffusion and things of that nature, or really exotic reverbs, there's almost nothing that this pedal can do. And with the addition of the Cali76, there's a ton of things that you can do for really great compressed guitar sounds as well. Anyway, that's it for me and Ella from Studio Bodhi here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon. You can end it now.